Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen, joined by my usual broadcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw, who played 11 seasons for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. We come to you twice a week to talk about all things hockey and a few other things. Today, Tom, we start by talking about COVID. I thought we were going to be done with that, but my wife is awaiting the results of a test to find out whether she has COVID. When we were at the lake house with our grandkids last week, when my own children were out hiking in the Great Northwest. One of my grandchildren was sick. We tested her; she was negative. But once we got them all back to their respective homes, Terry was still at the lake house. I was back at our real home, and she got rather sick yesterday and spent the entire day sleeping and coughing and.
That's not like her either, right? She's healthy.
No. She's very healthy and very doesn't. She's a yoga person, a healthy eater person, and for her to sleep all day, and she really was out. I mean, it was hard to talk to her. She couldn't.
Wow.
She's coughing and so forth. She went to bed last night at 8:00, and today she is at Walgreens drugstore. She's already been there, and in 2 hours she'll know whether she has COVID, but she certainly has all the symptoms of COVID. I would describe her as just based on the phone and she said, maybe, we'll put quotes around maybe I'm a little better, but not by much.
Wow.
So we'll see. Two of my grandkids, I've immediately kind of called around to. One of them left soccer practice, the 4-year-old. He's at a soccer camp. That's the new way of the world, isn't it? 4-year-olds at soccer camp.
4 years old, huh?
Yeah. So, he just said that, Mom, I need to go home because I'm really tired today.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and he slept 11 hours last night.
Wow.
So, and then my other granddaughter, his sister, told her mom, I need to go take a nap. She's 2 and requested a nap, and that doesn't happen.
No.
So now we're concerned too that perhaps they're coming down with something. It doesn't mean it's COVID. It could just be just a normal run-of-the-mill virus, but we'll see. Let's play it by ear. My wife is sick, but she's not. I feel like I need to go to the hospital sick.
Right.
That's the
Has she had COVID before?
She has not, but we're running out of people. I think if she is positive, then we're basically down to
that's right.
Me and my other daughter are the only two that have not had it, or at least we don't think we had it. I mean, it is possible that we had it and just were asymptomatic. Right. So anyway, I got some hockey stuff I want to talk about today.
Yeah,
and I've got my list here. I've got a little theory here, and I want to run this by you. We reached the point where the reason that Kadri and Klingberg are not signed is simply that the mathematics no longer work. That we have, and I looked at this, and there's 1, 2, 3, I think 10 teams that actually have enough cap space to actually sign one of those players. If we believe that those players are looking for $8 million on an average contract, an AAV, I think that's true too. I don't think Klingberg wants to sign for less than 8. And I don't think Kadri wants to sign for less than 8. That doesn't mean they won't. But, you start with basically the Winnipeg Jets at 8.4, and then you go all the way up to the Coyotes and the Ducks, and they have in $20 million range. But when I look at those 10 teams, Tom, I see the Jets now, they've got 8.4 million, but they still have only got 18 players signed. They got to sign other players.
Yep.
The Devils had 8.7, and they've got some players, Jesper Bratt, they've got to sign, and a couple others as well. So they really don't have $8 million either. The Flames are not at 9.3, but they still have to sign Mangiapane and Kylington. The Red Wings have 10.2, but Steve Yzerman has said, I'm not really sure I want to get much lower than that because, and he's got, and I mentioned this previously, he has got 26 players. He's over the limit and wants to infuse some rookies in there. So I don't see him doing it.
Yep.
The Blackhawks, they're not looking to add payroll.
No,
they're in rebuild mode.
Yeah.
So I got the Ottawa Senators 10.8. Right. There's the team. Maybe. Looks like they want to enhance the value of their franchise by making it better. So I got a maybe on the Senators. That's the first team we've gotten down to that maybe it would work. And we got the Islanders. Now they've got 11 million left, but they got to sign Dobson. Like, he's an important player. You got to give him money. And they've got Romanov, or not Romanov. Romanov. Yeah.
Romanov,
Yeah. And they got to get him signed. Stars have 11.4 million. Yeah, they're a maybe.
Yeah.
Then we got the Sabres. They're on a budget. They just don't want to spend.
Yeah.
The Coyotes are not spending any money.
Yeah,
and then we got the Ducks. Now, people were saying, well, there are teams like the Colorado that are trying to trade some players to get. But, if you've got to trade $8.2 million worth of players in order to make that work, one of these 10 teams have to take those players.
Yeah.
And we're right back where we started.
Right. Well, you could have multiple trades, right? It's a trade 3 or 4 players. You could, but then what are you doing?
Yeah, and you're going to have to trade them to different teams. I guess that is the tricky part of it. So anyway, I mean, I look at this and I see, the matrix is not favorable to John Klingberg and Nazem Kadri, and it's really not their fault. This is a COVID-related flat cap situation that will clear up eventually. I mean, don't you think at one point, Tom, we'll have like a big jump where the cap will go from 82 million to 90 or
90? Yeah.
So
revenue's recovering. Yes. The thing with me, and I still like Klingberg, he's good, but I look at Kadri, I like him a lot. Like, he adds that special element to the team, to some team where he's talented, gritty. I think he's matured now, showing that he's not taking those bad penalties he's taken in the past and getting himself suspended. But he's like a Brian Marchment kind of guy. He's got that edge to his game. I just like I look around. We'll look at Columbus signing Johnny Gaudreau, and I know Gaudreau had like 115 points and super talented player. But if I'm Columbus, would I rather have Kadri or Gaudreau? I think I'd rather have Kadri than Gaudreau. He's got that extra element to his game that Gaudreau doesn't have. But again, the kid, nothing new about it now. It's already done. But
well, we've got breaking news here. A text from my wife. My wife has tested positive for COVID.
Oh God!
So,
wow.
Yeah. So right here, you get all the live reports on
live reports.
Leylon and Alan. So, well, that's not good news, because we supposedly have a family vacation. Everybody's supposed to be coming in on Friday. I don't think that'll be happening anymore.
Oh, wow.
So
and then you would assume the kids were, if she was exposed, the kids she was with.
So I'm now exposed as well, because I was there as well. So I guess I'll have to sweat it out a little bit as well.
Wow.
But anyway, I mean, it's not the end of the world. We'll get through it. So
do you like Gaudreau better than Kadri? I think you do, right?
No, I don't. I know what you're saying, but I think this would be my argument. My argument for that Columbus had to have signed Gaudreau. Gaudreau, in terms of perception, in terms of letting the world know that the Blue Jackets compete for star players.
Yeah,
Gaudreau was better for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Kadri, people look at him and say, yeah, he's a real valuable player, but does he have that star quotient? Johnny Gaudreau has got some uniqueness to him. He's a small player. He led the league in even strength goals this year. So there's some pizzazz to Johnny Gaudreau that Kadri lacks. He's got more of an aura about the entertainment value. Entertainment value is a little higher.
That's true too. So what about Philadelphia then? Philadelphia made noise that they were after somebody, right? Did they say it was Gaudreau? Was that ever confirmed, or was that more of a speculation because he's from that area?
No. I mean, I think they were interested, but again, they don't have any cap space, so they would have to trade a Van Riemsdyk, which makes a lot of sense. But who's going to take $7 million?
Because that's the team I look at and say, okay, with that market, with Tortorella coming in there, Kadri is Tortorella's kind of player. I can see those guys, again, butt heads probably, but both strong-willed individuals. But I mean, to me, that's Philadelphia. So, okay, well, are you going to do something? If you don't think you're rebuilding, you currently haven't improved the team this summer, other than hiring Tortorella. So why not go after Kadri? But you're right, they have to make a trade. Maybe that's what's happening. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that that's easily accomplished. Like I'd love to be the phone call with Chuck Fletcher calling Steve Eisman and trying to convince him to take a $7 million Van Riemsdyk, or to call the Buffalo Sabres and say, take this $7 million contract off our hands, even though you really want to be a budget team this year.
Right.
And
he's not a $7 million player right now either. Right.
Well, no. And, it's not that he can't play. Like, I think actually Van Riemsdyk could probably score 15 to 20 goals. I mean, but
like the old Kenny Holland line is, I like him at 4. I don't like him at 7. Right.
Yeah, no, it's, I hate him at 7.2. I'm okay with him at 3.8. I always like.
I'd hate to be an agent right now too, unless there's something already in place. Unless they've gone to Colorado, they figured out what they want to pay him. He's accepted that offer, and they're just saying, okay, well then we need to make a trade here before we can sign it or go over the cap. I mean, that could be going on too, but otherwise, that's one of those things that Kadri's looking at his agent like, okay, what the heck's going on here? I mean, the year I had, we won the Stanley Cup, the role I played, and I'm not signed yet.
Yeah. But what are you going to do? It's one of those things where, when everybody's jumping in the pool, if you're the last to jump in, there's no room for you to dive.
I know.
And I think that's kind of what's happened here. He slow played his hand, and then everybody else kind of won and got their money, and then he's left here, and the music's about to stop, and there are not a lot of chairs. And so now we're hearing things like, well, 1 year deal. Well, 1 year deal, it's still going to be problematic. I think what we're really talking about is he's going to have to take less, because like imagine if you could say, yeah, well, we'll give you, because the in this scenario that I'm painting here, or kind of pushing up, the issue is not the term. The issue is the average, is the cap hit.
Right.
So even at 1 year, I mean, the Taylor Hall scenario, where he takes 1 year at $8 million, well, that's still hard. Where are we going to put $8 million on this group of 10? Who's going to step up and take that?
I know. And if I'm Kadri, like Taylor Hall had a great year where he won the Hart Trophy as the best player in the league, but then he had a couple of down years kind of then too, and he went into that free agency period. It wasn't like he was awful, but Kadri's at the peak of his career. He just won a Stanley Cup, and the way he played this past season, so I'm like, geez. The other alternative.
30, though. Kadri's over 30. I mean,
it already is. Wow.
Yeah, I think to look him up, but I think he's 30 or 31.
Yeah. Here's the other alternative for him too: is if he doesn't get a contract this summer, does he just wait and go to somebody's training camp unsigned, and then or wait until the season starts? Somebody's get hurt, or somebody doesn't have the players that they thought they did, and then he signs a contract at that point.
Well, them having the players that they thought they had doesn't help the salary cap situation now.
Well,
and it's long-term injury.
Yes.
Yeah, they would need a long-term injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. You could just hope that someone will get a long-term injury.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be a little reluctant. Like if a guy is going to be gone for a year, I guess you could convince yourself, well, we'll worry about it in the summer. The cap will go up. We can finagle a little bit more. But you got to be careful. I mean, even a 3-month injury, you can end up like a Vegas. And boy, you did not like that scenario when Vegas went.
That was mismanaged in my mind. Yeah, he is 31 years old, right? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It's a real dicey situation. I don't think people are talking about teams are trying to make deals, but I don't know how they're going to make deals. Like they got to go to that same group of teams here. I feel like Joseph McCarthy in the 1950s. I got a list here. Of communists. No, I got a list of 10 teams that have $8.5 million that could actually make it work. So, I guess
there's the Arizona. You could say, okay, Arizona will take Van Riemsdyk and get something for taking him, right? Like giving away draft picks.
Well, they haven't been inclined to do that yet.
Right.
And so are they suddenly going to change their mind? Because it's not like Chuck Fletcher hasn't called a lot of teams saying, now I'll tell you what I have heard. I have heard that when they made those calls, those teams said, yeah, we'll take Van Riemsdyk, but we'll take a first-round pick.
Right.
And that is a heavy price to pay when you're
so you're basically, if you're Philadelphia, you're dumping that contract and you're giving away a first-round draft pick for potentially Nazem Kadri to sign him, right?
Yeah, although, that won't be enough. So you're going to have to do something else too. So there's going to be some value. And the other thing too is do you feel good about giving Kadri at age 31 an 8-year contract?
We can't give him 8 years, right? Because he's signing with a new team. So 7 years is the max.
7 years. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You're right.
No, I don't. I don't feel good about giving 7 years.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be something to give here, and I think I would venture to say that the price of poker has gone up.
Yeah,
I would think maybe the ante might be higher now. Maybe.
And what do you think the chances are? It's just there's already something set up with Colorado. They just need to make a trade.
Well, I mean, people are talking about that, but again, I'll repeat myself for the second time. Where's Colorado trading these players?
Yeah, you're right.
Well, it doesn't matter who they are. Like I keep hearing Sam Girard. Gerard, I believe, is a $5 million player.
Right.
So where's he going here on this list?
I know, and then you're weakening your lineup. Those are good players. Yeah. It's not like they need to dump a contract, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are saying are exploring that. I think the Islanders are looking at that. I think the Colorado Avalanche are looking, but the Dobson contract thing, it's not getting enough play. Right. He's a real valuable player for them, and they've got to get him signed, and they got to get some term out of this, right. Because he's just going to get better and better, in my opinion. Yep. I don't know how you feel. I mean, you're the defenseman, but
he's good. No, I like him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, me too. And I think Lou Lamoriello knows that, and I think he's not going to do anything. He's got to make sure he's got plenty of money to take care of Noah Dobson and get some term out of him, so they don't have to worry about it for a while. Right. So I don't know. I just think this is, and we haven't talked about Klingberg, but he's not, as you alluded to. It's not. You're not going to put Klingberg on your list, though. No.
It's not on the list. He's an honorable mention.
I don't want him on the list because I don't think he's that bad. So
he's honorable.
I think he's actually pretty good.
Yes, I do. But I thought he would have been better when he started off. I thought he was going to be better than what he's become. Doesn't mean he's not good, but I thought he was going to be more.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is, and I think we thought he would become more of a two-way guy. Yeah. And I think he's a little better defensively than people think he is. A little better, but he's not. He's not Ryan McDonough, and he's not we're not going to classify him as a two-way defenseman.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I wouldn't if he's asking for 8. I just wouldn't give him that. Right.
Yeah, that seems like Kadri. We're going to take care of Kadri before we're going to take care of Klingberg.
Absolutely. Yes, so, I agree. Yep.
So, as the arbiters of good hockey, you and I have declared Kadri before Klingberg.
Yes, so absolutely. If I want to sign somebody, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So anyway, that's interesting. And so I think this could stretch on a while. I like your theory a little bit about if you got a little courage, you just wait it out. Yeah, I'm a good hockey player. I'm going to look pretty attractive as things start to go bad, and somebody will get hurt long term, and that will tempt somebody to pull and we'll start calling this move a Golden Knights move, where you just say, salary cap be damned. I'll figure it out later.
Right, definitely.
Maybe now. I mean, that's the American way. We buy on credit. We buy on credit.
Right, that's true.
And then we'll figure it out later.
Later on. I like that. That's good. That is the American way.
Yeah, it's the American way. So
we did that with Brian Burr. I mean, remember way back when he came back from his eye injury, he'd signed with the Rangers first, and signed with Boston. Went to arbitration with Boston, and they walked away from the award. And I remember sitting in the offices of the NHLPA and just okay, we're just going to wait until the end of October. Somebody's going to get hurt, and somebody doesn't have the team that they thought they had. And Chicago came along, and I believe they had some injuries and signed him. So. it does happen. There's no see, that's the thing right now. There's no pressure on any teams right now, or very little pressure, because nobody's playing any games. You're not losing any games. You're not seeing how bad your team is on the ice. That's why I look at Philadelphia and I think, okay, they're going to be better because of Tortorella. He's going to squeeze a lot out of them. But they're still not going to be the team that if they're not rebuilding, then if they still think they're a contending team, that team isn't good enough to contend, I don't think. So that's the team I
No, I don't either. And I do think they kind of see themselves as that. I don't think, maybe deep in their hearts, they know we're really not there, but they can't. It's sort of like the way the Red Wings were at the end when they had an aging Datsuk and Zetterberg, when Ken Holland was still a GM, and they had the playoff streak, and they were just trying to convince themselves that, if we got into the playoffs, we have a chance. It really wasn't the case, because they did get in one year, and then they were out in a hurry. So now one other thing about that before we let that go on my list, and that is that I've got the Stars down here at 11.4, but the player that they haven't yet signed is Jason Robertson. So that really is not 11.4.
Right.
So it's another team that really shouldn't be on that list, because is he not? Well, I guess you can make a case for Heiskanen, but either he or Heiskanen are the most important player on that team. Like, Robertson is a heck of a hockey player.
Yeah, I agree. Well, where that with Klingberg, did they not want Klingberg back, or they just don't want to pay him the price he wants?
They couldn't pay him. They just didn't have room to pay him what he wanted. He thought, he wanted originally, I don't know what he wants today. Originally, he wanted a Heiskanen deal. They brought in young Heiskanen. I've been here. I've been doing my thing. I've been leading this team offensively from the blue line. Along comes Heiskanen, the new number one flavor, and now I need to get paid. I mean, you paid Heiskanen, and it's hard to go to John Klingberg and say Heiskanen is better. It's hard to say that to him, because he's been a loyal soldier, and my friend Tom Layla believes in loyalty. So
yes, I do believe in loyalty. Yes, that's very true. But today's world is a flat cap. You've got to make decisions. They're tough decisions, right?
Yeah.
And Jimmy I think, is pretty good. He learned under Kenny Holland to communicate well with his players. So I would assume he's gone to Klingberg. And but you're right, that is a delicate conversation to say that somebody else on the team is better than him. Yeah.
All pigs are created equal. Some are created more equal than others, and sometimes, I believe in loyalty, except when it doesn't fit under the cap.
Exactly.
So.
So if you're the general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks, Kyle Davidson, are you happy or sad today about Jonathan Toews' comments?
I didn't even see, what did Jonathan say?
The rebuild doesn't sound appealing to Jonathan Toews. That's his quote.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Kyle Davidson seems to care, because he didn't call him and discuss that with him, which I felt you would do. Don't you owe that to Jonathan Toews? I think you owe it to him and Patrick Kane, two guys who really spearheaded the rebirth of the Chicago Blackhawks, the new Wirtz 2 regime. They had the old Wirtz regime, and then Rocky took over, and they had Toews and Kane, and it was, they were the spearheads of it. I would have thought you owed it to them. 3 cups, 6 years. Call Jonathan and say,
or if you're Kyle Davidson, you say, listen, I wasn't the general manager for these guys' careers. I'm the new general manager, and I've got to clean up this mess now. And I don't want those guys in their contracts on this team. I'm doing a rebuild. As much as they won all the cups.
I don't begrudge them their rebuild. I begrudge the fact that they didn't at least let them know ahead of time what they were intending to do, and say to them, just let us know how you want the handle.
I agree with you totally. But if I'm Kyle Davidson, maybe I say, you know what? I'm not including them in the decision-making process of this hockey team. I'm making decisions.
I'm not saying. All I'm saying is you notify them and say, we're going to do everything in our power to let your exit be graceful. So,
well,
I think that's at least you owe them.
Well, I'm not, and I hear you, but I'm going to look at I'm the contrarian here and say, okay, no, I'm not telling them what's going on. I'm making the decisions for the team. They don't run the team. I don't have to tell them anything. And he probably, in my mind, maybe he potentially wanted Jonathan Toews to get mad and say something publicly. Now it's easier to move him out of there, instead of, you know what I'm saying?
No, not really. I mean, I think you can do both. Like I don't like because again, Kyle Davidson can do what he wants to do, and you got to do what's best for the franchise. The Blackhawks, believe it or not, are not the first team to publicly go into a rebuild. But usually, when you do go into that rebuild, you kind of say, "Well, we're going to try to do it with as much class as we possibly can." Like these decisions are never easy. We've all, this happens in the real world. As well. It certainly happened to me. Been forever with the USA Today, covered the league for 35 years, covered the NHL, and then I get a phone call. I actually didn't get a phone call, I got a Zoom call. Yeah. And two people who I'd never met before said, it's time for you to go.
Oh, it's now, oh wow.
Yeah. Didn't having never laid eyes on either of those two people.
I didn't realize that. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, but let me back up on Taves. So 1 sec. Okay. So what if Kyle Davidson goes to Taves and said, "Listen, we're in a rebuild right now. I know you've had a fantastic career," and Taves says to him, "Okay, well, I'll be part of it. I don't want to get traded. I want to stay here." So now Kyle Davidson, his what he wanted to do all along was trade Jonathan Taves, but now Taves is going to go publicly and say, Kyle Davis has come to me and told me that there's a rebuild. I don't want to go anywhere. What is Kyle Davis?
You were doing it with a year to go, and first of all, Jonathan Taves is not very tradable right now. Anyway, Kane is a different story, but Jonathan Taves really isn't tradable.
Right.
I think what you want to do in this situation is just how do you want to handle it? Do you want to just go gently into night and be on the inactive list and we pay you, or whatever that you can do. But I mean, there's really nothing either side can do for Jonathan Taves. But I think you kind of owe it to him to kind of explain what you're going to do. I don't think you asked their permission. So
you don't think somebody will take Taves?
I don't.
With his leadership ability, his character,
in this market, absolutely not. Yeah. So I don't. If you wanted to do $5 million, would they bring him in for $5 million? I don't know. Maybe it's a trade deadline. I just I got my list here. I got my communists. Yeah. So I just don't know where he goes.
So you got 1 year left in his deal, right?
Yeah, $10 million, Tom.
Right. So what if somebody Chicago takes half that money back? $5 million.
$5 million, even $5 million. Where's he going?
Right.
Again in the season, as we get down and things shuffle out, guys get hurt. Maybe Taves starts out well this year. Maybe he rediscovers himself. But
so now he's come out though and publicly said he's not interested in the rebuild. So now you're going to have him in your locker room. You're going to have him in your locker room.
Yeah. I think you kind of got to do that if he wants to play. I mean, he's still a classy guy, I would assume. Right. So, do you think
I don't know. You got a veteran player. He takes up a lot of space, a lot of room in the cap, a lot of room in the locker room. He's a bigger than life. I still think you can trade him. I'd rather say, okay, trade him, even if you have to eat $7 million of the contract. Even if you have to eat
$7 million out of the contract.
Why?
You can only do half.
Oh, it's half it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think he's tradable. I guess you could buy him out, but that certainly looks bad. You buy out one of the greatest players in your history, and
well, that is the easiest way, though. I mean, then he can go sign someplace else. You don't have to worry about a trade. You buy him out.
Now, is there another period for that, or did they miss that?
I think there's another period for it. I believe. I'm not totally sure on that, but I believe there is another period for it.
I guess that is an option. So 2/3, but then you give them less money. Again, that's insulting a little bit too.
He can go find someplace else, right? I mean,
so he can, but
$6.6 million over 2 years.
So someone would, in order to make him whole, someone would have to give him 3.4.
Right. But I mean, maybe he doesn't feel like. Maybe he isn't feeling like I don't have to make it whole. I'll take $2.5 million for 2 years. Right?
Yeah. Maybe that's what he wants to. I mean, again, I'd ask him, you want us to buy out? If he's fine with that. So, but you don't want the situation like, here in Detroit, Sergei Fedorov's number is not going to get retired. He's not. They don't. The Red Wings do not have a warm and fuzzy relationship with Sergei Fedorov, one of the greatest players in Red Wings history. You don't want that. You don't want that with your franchise. The Blackhawks went through that with Bobby Hall. And they went through it with some other players. They finally got him back again, and now they're going to do it again. You don't want that. Not with some of your greatest players.
But now the players come out and said that he doesn't want to be part. The rebuild is not appealing to him.
Yeah. So I understand that, but I'm just saying you still want to try to make the ending as a thing. I mean, it may come down to it. Maybe he's fine to be, but to be bought out. Maybe that's what he wants. Right. But I'm saying, you owe it to him to at least discuss that with him and not just arbitrarily make decisions without, bringing him in. You want to maintain a relationship with him. You want to say, look, this is uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable, but
yeah.
So,
I hear you. But the barn door has already been open now. I mean, the horses are running outside.
Yeah, well, you and I, you're arguing for really no good reason because all I'm talking about is the optics and trying to be kind of nice at the end as well as you can be. Like, again, I don't think you let Jonathan Toews dictate what you're doing with the team, but I don't think it costs you anything to try to be nice at the end. And there's a lot of goodwill that's
but again, maybe and again, I'm speculating. Maybe Kyle Davidson was afraid that if he went to Jonathan Toews and told him what's going on, Jonathan Toews would say, "I don't want to leave the team. I want to stay now. You're handling the right." But he wants him out of there. He's taking up cap space. He's taking up a spot.
You don't know that.
What's that?
You don't know that he wants him out of there. Maybe he wants him to be there.
I'm purely speculating, though. Like maybe he didn't want to go. So he did not go talk to him. So maybe the reason he didn't go talk to him was because he didn't want Toews to say, "I want to stay." Right?
Yeah, I don't know. That seems a little far-fetched.
Why do you say that?
Well, because
for all the reasons you're talking about, now Toews says he wants to stay, but Kyle Davidson wants to trade him. He wants to get him off the team, wants a roster spot for somebody else.
Well, again, I'm operating under the assumption that Jonathan Toews is untradeable. So,
right.
So I just in this environment. So, and based on how he played last season.
Yeah. Could be.
So I just think even at $5 million, that's
right. But like you said, it's maybe again, if I'm the general manager and if I want to rebuild as much as I have total respect for Jonathan Toews, I don't want him. There's a roster spot that he's taking up. You can't play Jonathan Toews as a third line centerman. Like you got to play Jonathan Toews. If he's going to be on the team, if he's dressing every night, he's got to play, right? So it puts the coach in a bad spot, right? Because he isn't that, like you're saying, he isn't that good.
Jonathan Toews, I don't know if you were paying attention to the Blackhawks last year. Jonathan Toews did not have the top wingers last year.
What's that?
So,
did not have the top. Yeah, but I mean,
he did not have the top.
Ideally, you want him up in the press box, right? If he's not that good of a player, you want the roster spill.
No, you're not. You're
like Toews is a
what's the date today? It's the 26th. You're 13 days into your rebuild.
27.
That's 27. Or 14 days into your rebuild because it really started at the draft.
Chicago's rebuild. Chicago's rebuild started last year, right?
No, they were still trying to win last year. They brought in before the season started. They brought in Seth Jones. They weren't rebuilding at the start of last year.
To me,
so they're 14 days in. Now you went out, you got a bunch of first round picks. Right. Those guys aren't even there yet. You're in that, we've watched rebuilds here. And, Toronto, the way they rebuild, they got rid of some people early, and then they got rid of some the first year, and they just kind of played along. They acquired other picks. I don't think they're far enough in that whether you have or don't have Jonathan Toews. Like, who's the young player you're looking to develop on the Chicago Blackhawks?
But he's now come out and said that it's not appealing to him. You're going to have that in your locker room. So your legendary player, captain of the team, has come out and said he doesn't want to be part of the rebuild.
Well, you got to figure out what to do. That's best. But I'm just saying, what's wrong with just bringing the guy in? Like, there's no good solution here. Because you can't easily trade him. I just don't know where you're trying to send him to. So maybe
Winnipeg Jets.
Well, again, I just explained to you the Winnipeg Jets don't really have. They have 5 players to sign. They got $8.4 million. So where's he fit in at $5 million there?
Good point.
Yeah. So
I just think I hear you with all that stuff. I hear you, but
you just don't want to accept it is the problem.
No, I don't want Jonathan Taves in my locker room now after him.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't want. I mean,
he doesn't want to be part of the rebuild. He just has said, "I'll give you the quote." Taves Blackhawk says, "Rebuild doesn't sound appealing."
No, and so I think he'll make that decision on his own. So there's no reason to, just force it down.
He's going to walk away from $10 million.
So no, like what I'm saying is, why don't you just sit down and talk with him? Like if he doesn't want to be a part of it, say, this is the way it's going to be. Like where does that hurt? Like why are you against carrying on a conversation?
Well, what's going to change? Like the general manager is trying to get to me. If I'm Kyle Davidson, I don't want Jonathan Taves on the team.
All right, let's just say you can do it any way you want to do it. So what are you going to do right now with Jonathan Taves?
Buy him up.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's acceptable. Are you going to just announce it to the world that you're going to buy him out, or are you going to call him, let him know what you're planning on doing?
Well, I think generally speaking, based on what he has not done so far, he hasn't talked to him yet, right?
No, what are you going to do? You're in charge now.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell him. I would have done what you said. I would have gone and
Jonathan. Well, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But but I would have been honest with him and said, listen, Jonathan, we don't want you on the team. It's not because you haven't had a great career here. We need to free up roster space, cap space, all that kinds of stuff. We want you off the team.
I don't have any problem with that. But I mean, again, I just think the fact that you've put yourself already in a bad spot because you've just done all this and nobody's made a phone call. If that's the truth. So
right, if it is true. Or he did it intentionally because he wanted Jonathan Taves to get himself off the team, get Jonathan Taves mad and get him off the team.
Well, then to me, that's classless. Just be honest. The world works better when people are just honest. So.
Well, that's the point, though. If he's gone to Jonathan Taves, potentially, if he's gone to Jonathan Taves and tried to do the right thing, maybe Jonathan Taves says, man, I really respect this guy. I want to stay here and be part of this rebuild. But they don't want him there.
Yeah, I don't think it works like that. But
no.
So, anyway, well, we spent too much time on that anyway, because I don't think that.
How about the big news I saw in the New York Post today? Sean Avery is getting divorced from his actress wife.
Oh, I didn't even know he was married to an actress. Who is he married to?
Hillary Rhoda.
I'm afraid I don't know her.
Yeah, I don't know either. I saw a picture of it.
Well, I mean, what's the marriage rate for hockey players? Is it the same as? It's 50% or whatever it is.
It's got to be close to 75%.
Yeah.
And usually multiple divorces too.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, we did our Thursday show. We had James Patrick, Ron Grescher, myself, and Larry Melnick, and there was 5 divorces, 4 guys right there. So.
Wow.
Yeah. And Larry Melnick didn't have any. Actually, there's 5 divorces for only 3 guys. Larry Melnick did not have one. Grudgiest guy on the planet, and he stayed married. So I don't know how you figure that.
I don't know.
Me being Mr. Wonderful, so
maybe he's grouchy to you guys, but at home he's a very nice man. So
I think that's very true. Actually, I do think he's a fantastic husband and father. Yeah.
A little bit of sad news. I want to get this out because Bobby Ryan, of course, was arrested last night at a Nashville airport, and it looks alcohol related. They first noticed that he was taking stuff out of a store in the airport, and then they followed him, and he put the stuff on a counter. He didn't even take it. He put it on one of the airport counters that you have there, like when you're plugging in your phone. And then he went into a bar, and they followed him in a bar, and he was ordering a drink, and he didn't know who he was or where he was at or what he was doing.
That's too bad.
So this is all.
He'd been sober for a couple of years, right? Hadn't he?
Yeah, well, it's 2019. So with that, when he went into rehab, so it's been 4 years, and of course now he's out of the game, and when the applause stops. But so it's a real difficult
He's got
situation.
He's got through a lot, right?
He sure has. He sure has. I'm very sympathetic to Bobby Ryan. He wants to be better. It's clear he's gone into rehab before. So I hope for the best for him. He's really a good guy. I don't know if you had a chance to.
I never spoke to him. I've heard all great things about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's easy to talk to and everything. And I believe alcoholism is a disease, and it's hard to beat.
Well, I do that show on Tuesdays with this Jackie Long, and she's a hypnotist. And we were talking about addiction yesterday, actually, and she was saying that most of the times, it comes from some trauma that happens to when you're a child. And obviously, he's been through some trauma when he was a child. So,
yeah. I do have another topic, but we only got a couple minutes left, so I'm not going to bring it up. But I'll whet the appetite, get you to think about it a little bit. And it occurred to me, and I'm older than you, but not by too many years, but a few. When I was a kid, it seemed to me people kind of plodded through life. They put one foot in front of the other. They had a job. They got up early. They did their job. They came home. They watched hockey on television. And, they had things they did. They had hobbies. A lot of them, of the people I knew, were very dedicated to their families. And I think the world is different now. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about how passionate people are about causes. And almost always, and I'm not talking about, things that earn you money as well as that you like a lot as well. But I'm talking about the people who, I know people on both sides of the political spectrum who are very passionate about doing work. They feel strongly either that the country needs to make changes from the right, or country needs to make changes from the left. It doesn't matter what you believe, but they're very passionate about it. Like, they're into it. They pay attention to what's going on. They're engaged. They go to marches. They support their candidates financially. We have the abortion issue is a hot button topic. People are very passionate about it. They do all that. And, there's a lot of others. People are just support the homeless. My daughter, when immigrants come over, I find it's somewhat comical that people say, we give our resources to immigrants. Well, my daughter worked for an organization because when immigrants come over, they get nothing. They don't qualify for anything, food stamps or anything else. So she was part of a group that would help them assimilate, and that was her passion. Well, there are a lot of like that, and I started thinking, am I just lacking? Because I'm engaged. I know what's going on. I feel strongly about everything, but I don't really. I'm not, I haven't joined any marches lately. I feel strongly about a lot of issues, but, I can certainly talk to people on the other side. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. My passion is that way. I don't know.
You have a passion. I know your passion. I can tell you what your passion is right now.
Are you going to say family or?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but that I think everybody sort of has that.
Oh, Kevin, you're giving yourself not enough credit. I think
everybody should have that. But
but I've told you this many times. I have tremendous respect for a lot of reasons, but the way you are with your family, like that's your passion. Really.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I do feel strongly about that. But it is interesting, and I don't want to talk about that now because it'll leak. But I was just wanted to say, I wonder, and my question is I wonder how we got here. Like, how did we go from the 1960s and 70s when it was one foot in front of the other, everybody move forward, just do your job and everything, to being everybody's got a cause now of some way, shape, or form.
That's a good conversation. We're going to have that next week.
Yeah. Anyway, also, hopefully by next week, we'll have, I want to talk about logos as well. I saw this great, get everybody thinking about that. As someone who did the top ranking, the 32 logos, and number one, by the way, was Detroit Red Wings. Number two, I think, is a little bit shocking. It was the Arizona Coyotes. So,
yeah, I can see the younger people liking that more.
Yeah, right? I really like that Coyotes logo. So anyway, we'll talk about logos as well next week. But if you want to read what I have to say, I'm actually writing about my list of the 10 teams that could afford Kadri, but there's not as many as you think there are. I'm at HockeyBuzz.com, also DetroitHockeyNow.com.
Good. And if you want to listen to the radio version of this show, you can go to radio.co at 365 Sports. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.